Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of June 2022. So this reading will be for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And by all means, if you do know your Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, if you're into astrology, feel free to watch or listen to any and all of the readings that apply, as each one of them may resonate differently for you. And so, as always, before we get started, do keep in mind that these readings are general in nature, so they're meant to be applicable to a more broad collective of individuals. So not necessarily all of the details that come through will make sense for you. That's why I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that makes sense for your specific situation, whatever that kind of triggers or brings up for you. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So Cancer, I'm super excited to take a look at what might be in store for you for the month of June. I absolutely cannot believe it's June already. I know I'm a little late getting to your reading, but things have just been busy. And yeah, to think that it's June, that means I've been reading cards for you guys for 6 months already. So it's already been half a year, which is just totally wild. So whether this is your first time here or you're returning, thank you for sharing this time and space with me. This is something that I really enjoy being able to do. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here, and I'm looking forward to continuing to putting readings out for you as the months progress. But yeah, so let's focus on June. I hope you're all doing well. I hope May was good to you. I've got your oracle cards here, and of course we'll pull some tarot, but before we get started, I will share with you the channeled energetic impression that I got and the channeled messages that I picked up on as I was connecting to your energy before I got any cards. So we will start out with that. And also, please forgive my janky nail polish. Been really busy, been trying to get these readings out, and normally I would touch my nails up, but right now, like, repainting my nails is just super low on my list of priorities. So we'll deal with it. So Cancer, for your energetic impression, as I was connecting to your energy, preparing the cards for the reading and getting ready to kind of connect and receive your channeled messages, the energy that I was picking up on for you, I actually really like, especially considering that the month of June will bring us into the beginning of Cancer season. So you guys will be kind of like coming into your prime, so to speak. So the energy, the vibe that I was picking up on, it was like very focused, very accurate, feeling really capable and confident. And so it's just like being in an energy of just getting things done easily and efficiently, feeling confident in your ability to get things done easily and efficiently. And there's also kind of like a sense of feeling really motivated, but it's like, it might not be like the work that you're doing that you're motivated by. It might be like things that you want to enjoy after you get that stuff done that it's motivating you. So it's like, maybe you're really excited about your plans on the weekend, or you're really excited to just like get home and like sit on your patio and hang out or whatever. And it might be like those things that you're excited about that are helping to motivate you to get like the less exciting things done. So I think that's a really like, if you are in that energy, it's a really good place to be, because it's really awesome to be able to take that energy and excitement and channel it into something that's like not so great, in order to like just get it over and done with, so you can fully be present and enjoy the more like fun aspects of life. So I did get the sense that like with that excitement, you might be tempted to rush, and like you might feel a little bit frantic at times, like trying to get things done as quickly as possible so that you can like enjoy the rest of your day. So there will be probably some balancing out of that, but overall, I really got the sense of just being very focused on what you need to get done and getting it done as easily and efficiently as possible. And the recognition that when you're able to like focus on and channel your energy into getting things done effectively, you end up with more time to play. So it's very much like an acceptance that there's a time to work and a time to play. And if you use your resources effectively, sometimes you can free up more time and energy to do the things that you enjoy by like being highly focused on the task that you have to complete right now. So I like that energy for you. And it's kind of like finding the reward in not even just hard work, but even just the day-to-day things that need to be managed. So yeah, I thought that was really good, like general kind of vibe for you guys for this month. In terms of your channeled messages, the first one that came through was organized religion. And so you may have a connection to organized religion. Perhaps you are a part of one. Perhaps that's a theme in your life, like maybe something that you don't necessarily connect with or something that's been troublesome. Maybe like spirituality is on your mind in terms of how you relate to yourself and others. You might be like looking for something to connect with in the sense of like, the bigger scheme of life. I don't know. So yeah, it could just be on your mind. It could be impacting you or the things around you. It could be a theme this month. I'm not sure how that might apply for you specifically, but that's what came up first. The next message that came through was finding your true north, which I thought was really, really cool because it's kind of like, it's like coming to the understanding and acceptance of the fact that like you might be your own person here for your own reason, and what's true and most meaningful for you, it might look different. So it's like, how we navigate like based on like the North Star, right? And it's like you've got the compass and there's like, the cardinal, I don't know, points, directions. And it's recognizing while like that can still be true, but your true north might not be the same as everybody else's. So it's like not approaching your growth and your life path in terms of like absolutes when it comes to navigation, because we can't take that navigation that we use like in everyday life, to get to, to get to our destination, and apply that to our personal journey as well, because it's a lot more nuanced. There's a lot more to consider. So I thought it was really nice because it's kind of like once you accept that your path might look different and your North Star may be in a completely different place, then it's like you give yourself permission to start investigating or kind of becoming more curious about what that might be for you. How do you find that true north? What does that feel like to you? The things that feel like they align. And so it's kind of paying attention to the things that you're drawn to intuitively, and embracing the fact that that's kind of like a journey that you'll discover more as you move along. So it's not something that's going to be obvious and laid out, but something that's going to be more of kind of like a self-discovery, and it's only going to come from your own kind of sense of yourself and what's more important to you. And the more that you can accept that that is a thing and it's valid, then the easier it will be to start identifying like what that true north is, so that you've got your own personal baseline to help keep you on track and to help keep you aligned in terms of what it is that you're trying to kind of accomplish or what it is you're looking to experience. And then the third message that came through was like not wanting to be boxed in. So the sense of like not wanting to be limited, not wanting to be judged. So it's like not wanting people to assume that you're a certain way or a certain type of person, or you only have a certain set of skills, and then being like locked in that assessment. But so this could be if you are somebody who has been highly structured or who has need to be like defined by very specific criteria in the past, maybe giving yourself the opportunity to expand beyond that and say like, okay, yeah, maybe all of these things occur, easily, or they come naturally to me. But, if I lock myself in this box where that's who I am and that's what I do, like, is there something I'm missing out on? Are there parts of me that aren't being expressed? Are there other strengths that maybe I'm just not having the ability to uncover, right? And so it's recognizing that sometimes it's taking those limitations off yourself and allowing yourself to have a more broad and open-ended experience and see, what there is to learn about yourself, and to acknowledge that even if you've mastered something, you don't have to stay there forever. You can kind of like move into something else. You can have a number of different interests. And so that could be like your relationship to yourself and your view on yourself, but it could be also feeling as though like you don't want to be boxed in by others, you don't want to be limited by others, you don't want people coming to assumptions, making judgments, that kind of stuff. Like you kind of want to be able to have the freedom to start experiencing more and learning more. And it's really difficult to do that when people try to lock you into a very narrow kind of view, right? Or they try to keep you on a very narrow path that doesn't give you many options to experience anything other than what you already know. So yeah, I kind of think like being more kind of open-minded, not being blinded by like one specific way of doing things or one specific belief. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then your next channeled message was entering a new age, which I thought was kind of appropriate because we're going to be coming into Cancer season. Like that is your solar return, like your kind of personal new year, right? Like that's a time where I feel like a lot of people end up doing reflecting because it's like, what have I done in this past year? Like what are my goals, right? It's a good time to check in with yourself and also to have your energy and your skills being like highlighted. Like it's kind of like a fun time for you. So it could be related to that specifically, but it also could be like entering a new stage of life. So maybe like a big milestone, or maybe there's something that you've been working on that's like progressing to the next stage. It could be coming into like personal growth, right? And a new understanding of yourself, coming into like a new version or expression of yourself. It could be setting new goals or priorities. But there is a sense of like, so entering a new age, it's kind of like graduating, leveling up in some way, like kind of one stage coming to an end and being recognized, and then like transitioning into like the next stage. So yeah, you might feel like you're ready for a change. There might be something like major, like a major life milestone that you've just experienced or you will be experiencing, or maybe you're ready to kind of like move into. So however that applies to you. The next message that came through was, does it have to be this hard? Like question, does it have to be this hard? And so I kind of got this sense like it could be in a way where you're feeling disadvantaged and you're a little bit discouraged and down on yourself. Like, why am I struggling so much? And if you are feeling that way, I would say like, just making sure that you're checking in with yourself and figuring out what you need, but also being willing to extend kindness and compassion to yourself, and not falling into that trap of comparison and like what everybody else is experiencing versus what you're experiencing, and just kind of like staying focused on your own growth, your own path. But then there's also the sense of like, does it have to be this hard? Like, do I really need to do it this way? Is this serving me? Is there, is there a better way of moving forward? Is there a more efficient way to do this? Am I tying up more energy than I need to? And that's taking away time and energy that I could be enjoying elsewhere, like that kind of stuff. So it might be also kind of taking note of the things in your life that are taking up the most time and effort, and just finding like ways that you might be able to streamline your life. Anything that you're kind of locked into that maybe isn't serving you any longer, or you're not getting a return on your investment. And it's just like making sure that you're not holding on to methods of doing something that are maybe like really laborious and time consuming if there's a way to kind of get the same result. And I'm not saying like to look for shortcuts or like, cutting corners, but it's more like not going out of your way to make things more difficult than they need to be. And there might be things that are kind of just like sneaky that you wouldn't necessarily realize. So it can take like coming in and like maybe even just assessing your daily tasks and like your schedule and your approach to things and saying like, is there anything I can do to make my life easier? Like, especially if there's stuff that you feel like really particularly drained by, or like maybe even avoidant of because it's just a difficult, unpleasant task. It's like, what can you do to make that easier for yourself? yeah, and if there's anything that just needs to like be released entirely. And then your final message for this month was sudden enlightenment. And so I got the sense of like things just like clicking, like you finally like there's some amount of clarity or something makes sense, like an aha moment. And it can happen like quickly and unexpectedly. So this could be something like perhaps a concept that you know, but you haven't been fully able to like integrate or believe. It could be something that you've heard multiple times and it's like, it sounds good, but you don't really quite understand it. And then it's like all of a sudden you hear something or you have a conversation or something switches in you and all of that stuff that you've heard just all of a sudden makes sense. So yeah, there could be some stuff that you've been working on that you haven't quite been able to like integrate or fully apply to your life. This could be just like purely like personal development and relationships and career. It could be spiritual in nature. But then it's kind of like, I kind of got the sense of like something happens and it might not even be something related to that topic. It might not be something that you would ever expect to like become enlightened by, but it just like flips that switch for you. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, oh, that's what it means. Like that makes sense. Or it's like, maybe having a personal experience that you can better relate to a concept that was more abstract to help you really firmly grasp and apply that to your life. So I have no idea. That could be absolutely anything. But yeah, I got the sense of like, yeah, it's like a sudden enlightenment. All of a sudden, like you've got a new perspective, a new level of understanding. It's just like something makes sense and you can use that to help yourself move forward in a way that's ultimately going to be more beneficial to you. Yeah, so that's it. So we'll get into your oracle cards. So your first card for this month is Awakening, which is actually funny because it's like that unexpected enlightenment. This kind of goes hand in hand. And I got that message before this card came out. So energetic upgrades, a new way of being, integration. And then your second is I Remember. And it says soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. This card has come up at least twice in other readings so far this month. So it seems to be a major theme. And so I will say, like, both of these cards are relatively spiritual in nature. They can be a little bit more on the abstract side. So I'll do my best to try and also provide a more grounded, like, practical application of these concepts. But it's actually kind of interesting too, because they go really nicely together. So in terms of awakening, I feel like that's pretty straightforward in terms of so I know, first off, to consider awakening. I know a lot of times, like, we hear people talking about it, and especially in the spiritual community, people talk about it like it's this big, like, life-changing moment, and like, everybody's searching for nirvana, and it can be like a little bit unrealistic, a little bit like glorified. Like, when it comes to awakening, I think a lot of people see it as like this beautiful awakening and this like exciting new life and like approach to life or understanding of life that just makes you happy and is just gifted to you. But a lot of times, like, awakening comes on the heels of our most challenging life experiences, right? So that doesn't mean that you have to be really suffering or struggling to have moments of awakening or enlightenment, or to kind of come into a new way of viewing yourself and being in the world. But it's also that, like, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. Like, sometimes awakening comes on the heels of like actually just really having to work through our stuff, right? Because a lot of times it has to do with our own self-acceptance, right? So it's like when we come to understand and accept ourselves with less judgment, it helps us to really connect with the things that are important to us, that make most sense to us, that help us express ourselves more effectively. And that in turn, it makes us more open to kind of like connecting with life lessons, accepting them and doing our best to work through them rather than avoiding or resisting them, because quite often that comes with a certain level of discomfort, right? The situations that help us grow and learn are not the ones that are like easy and enjoyable, right? It's not necessarily about pleasure and, you know, lighthearted times, it can be challenge, and it can be having to look at yourself really honestly and consider like maybe mistakes that you've made, maybe habits or beliefs that you have that are not necessarily empowering or not necessarily healthy, right? Ways that you're showing up in relationships that perhaps are a little bit hurtful to yourself or to someone else, maybe even dishonest, right? So it's like it takes being able to look at yourself, you know, as a whole, good and bad, without judgment, in order to better learn about like what it is you came here to do. Like, what lessons did you come here to learn? Are you learning most of your lessons in like romantic relationships, or is it more in like in terms of career and family, and like it's different for everyone. Everybody has their different kind of area of struggle. And so awakening, it's kind of like it requires you to be open to what life and your life experiences are trying to show you. And that's not the only way, but so it's like sometimes we'll have like, you know, those little moments of clarity where it's like, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense. But it's like we only get like slivers of it. The more that you're willing to take a look at yourself, your light, your dark, the places that you've been wounded, the things that you're having to kind of work through, perhaps unhelpful approaches that you're trying to kind of heal, the more that you're willing to look at yourself really honestly and take responsibility for your growth and your healing and your development, the easier it is to kind of connect with new levels of awareness, new insights, new beliefs. And that's essentially that's how we kind of like upgrade, right? So it's like when we come to a new understanding of an old situation or an old version of ourselves, and we're able to accept that. So this could be like a big time of you like connecting with new perspectives, a new way of viewing yourself or believing or your beliefs about life. And this is something that like, once you kind of come to that level of understanding, and whatever it is that's kind of sparked that awakening, whatever that kind of activates you in like I was saying, like, it can be like spontaneous enlightenment, right? Where it's like an aha moment and all of a sudden something just clicks. And it's like, once it clicks, you can't go back, right? Like you can't go back to the time when you didn't know or you didn't understand. And so it's kind of like with that new perspective, with that awakening, with that kind of like upgraded vision, then it's like you have to do something about it. Inevitably, coming to that realization changes you in some way. And then you have to figure out how to integrate that change into your day-to-day life, right? And so it's like awakening, yeah, it can be celebrated as something really beautiful, and quite often it is, but usually it's kind of like you go through some difficulties to get there, and then there's difficulties even when you've got, even if it's a more peaceful and loving perspective, you still kind of have to figure out like how to integrate that, how to accept that, how to allow that to impact you and your life, and how to break the habits that would otherwise keep you from expressing that, right? So it's recognizing like you might be going through a huge amount of personal development or spiritual development. There might be a lot of things in you shifting, right? So it's like, you know, and like maybe one day you go to work and you realize like, hey, you know, I've been working my ass off at this job. I've been slaving for $1, and I thought that I was making a difference, or I thought that this is the like field that I want to be in. And now I realize like, you know, the company doesn't stand for what I thought it does, and I'm actually supporting something that I don't believe in. And like, is this where I want my energy to be going, right? Or it could be the same realization about a relationship. And it doesn't have to be like in a negative way, right? It can also be like, hey, like, you know, I'm perfectly fine with where I am, but like I see this opportunity to do something that sounds really amazing, and I might have the opportunity to like experience the types of things that I'm lacking right now. And then it's like kind of coming into that realization. It's like when your soul wants to start expanding, you can't keep yourself stuck in a box, right? So it's like if you've done things the same way your whole life, and then you come into like a new perspective in terms of what might be meaningful or important to you, it's like you can't, with that information, lock yourself in that box, because the longer that you try to stay the same, or the longer you resist integrating and allowing that new perspective to change your life, the more things will kind of become difficult for you, right? The more unhappy you'll be in those circumstances, because you kind of come into a level of awareness of what you need, or maybe how you've changed, or how you need to change. And the best thing that you can do is kind of embrace that and see what it has to show you, and trust that it's part of your path, and like closing down from it. It won't go away, right? It'll just call for your attention louder and louder. And sometimes situations get to a point where they're not super enjoyable. So it's like sometimes things will actually get to the point of breakdown, so that you have to. So it's like if you need to go in a certain direction, if you need to like follow something that's calling to you, it's acknowledging that, maybe the best thing you can do for yourself is begin to investigate that, approach it with curiosity, lean into it, because it's like, if ultimately it's not going to go away and you're gonna need to do something differently at some point, it's like, it's probably easier on you to start now and figuring out what that might look like to you, than to resist it to the point of breakdown and have to kind of like rebuild all over again, which is not a bad thing either, right? Like sometimes we need to hit that rock bottom. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of information that's available to you, new insights, new perspectives, new opportunities. It might be a new level of awareness of like yourself, even intuitively, like what you feel called to do. If you've been ignoring yourself, ignoring your needs, your self-care, mental, spiritual, emotional needs, and focusing on like, your external environment, your career, all this other stuff, then it could be like coming to a realization that you need to connect more deeply with yourself and give yourself more time. So it could be anything, but basically saying that's a big theme for you this month. So you might be having experiences where it's like you come away with clarity, and it might be in situations or in circumstances where you don't necessarily have questions and think that you're in need of clarity, right? So that can also be confusing, because sometimes there are things that we struggle with, or that we're not sure about, and we're waiting for like an answer, or we're waiting to figure out what to do next. And like, then that awakening, it's like, okay, well, I get it now. This is what I need to do. You have that clarity. You've got your answer. But sometimes you might have even just an interaction with a person, and unexpectedly you might come into a new perspective or a new system of belief that makes sense to you and resonates with you, and it might have you coming away questioning what you thought you knew about yourself, where you didn't think you had any doubts or questions, right? So it's like, yeah, there's like a lot of new energy available to you. So it might just be a matter of like just trying to keep yourself grounded and focused, treat yourself with kindness and compassion, and recognize that, especially if you've got new perspectives coming in on areas where like you have been really stable, you have just always been doing the same thing, that to try and make a change, even if it's promising, even if it's beneficial, even if it's something that like excites you and is meaningful, it can still be really difficult. So it takes us time to be able to figure out what to do with those perspectives, what to do with that new information, and how to start making moves in that direction. So this might very well be a time of just trying to kind of come to terms with new perspectives, and give yourself permission to connect with that energy, and give yourself permission to change, right? Because this is also, it's not just like energetic upgrades, it's like learning lessons. And it's like, once you learn the lesson, you don't want to stay stuck in that previous stage, right? Like you want to take that information and start making better decisions, instead of making the same kind of mistakes over and over again. And so for that to come up with, I remember, this is all about you, like what you came here to do, what your purpose is. And when I say purpose, it could be a purpose that will manifest in the sense of like a job, like something that you can do for your life's work, something that you can make a living doing, and like it'll be an expression of your passion and creativity and your ultimate purpose, like through work. But it might also just be a hobby. It might also just be something that's deeply personal to you that doesn't necessarily get shared with anyone. So it can be on a small or large scale, but it's really about you connecting with the things that mean the most to you, right? So it's like, you know, what do you enjoy? What lights you up, right? What do you feel drawn to or called to? Even if it's something that doesn't necessarily make sense for like who you are right now, or what you have been doing, or the way you have been doing things. This is like those little nudges that you get intuitively, that it's like, well, what about this? Well, that sounds really cool. I think I would really like to do that. And then your mind jumps in and says, no, I could never. Or like, only this type of person does that. Or it's like, you have to have these qualifications. Or it's like, I'm too old. And, the mind jumps in and kind of sabotages those intuitive nudges with a whole bunch of judgments and fears and assumptions. Meanwhile, those intuitive nudges come from the soul, because it's like your soul is trying to lead you in the direction of like your highest possible outcome, your joy, right? And so with I Remember, this is also interesting because it's the idea that as souls, before we incarnated here, we came here with a plan, right? We came here to have certain types of experiences, meet certain types of people, learn certain types of lessons. And so it's kind of like the lives that we're living right now. It's like this concept, which is kind of abstract if you haven't come into contact with it, but like that we've kind of agreed. We've agreed to be this person, living this life, having these things, and we are exactly where we are meant to be because we said we were going to do this, right? But the thing is, that may be our destiny, what we agreed to, the lessons that we're supposed to come here to learn, to like be a better version of ourselves. But it's not guaranteed to happen, right? Because even destiny, the concept of destiny, as powerful as that is, and even if something is destined to be, you still have to say yes to it, right? So because we have free will, your destiny is not just going to come to you as a result of like following the rules and working hard, right? Like it's not a gift. It's something that you have to kind of be aware of and willing to say yes to. So those nudges that you get, the things that your soul feels called to do, the things that feel aligned to you, when you get those nudges, it's about recognizing like, hey, this is something that I feel strongly about. Maybe I should give myself the opportunity to do it. Because if you constantly say no, or you rationalize your way out of it, or you allow fear to guide you away from it, then it's like you're saying no, right? You're saying no to that little nudge that your soul is trying to give you in the direction of something that could be really beneficial to you, or could help you kind of experience more of whatever it is you're looking to have in your life. So it's like fate is the life that we're born into, right? So something that just we don't necessarily have any control over. Destiny is kind of like the fulfillment of our dreams, or like kind of like reaching that next level. And so fate is what it is, right? But destiny is something that we have to choose to connect with. It's something that we have to prioritize. And a lot of times we can get so caught up with the struggles of just like living life in the 3D world, like work and money and homes and mortgages and taxes and having nice clothes and going to restaurants, and like we get so caught up in like the day to day that sometimes we can lose sight of the more meaningful kinds of experiences, or the more meaningful ways that we can connect to ourselves and others, and that we can grow. So it's like sometimes we're so focused on like a more external sense of growth and success and development that we don't necessarily acknowledge the fact that just as much as we may feel we need that in the external world, we need that same level of time and attention and growth and opportunity when it comes to our souls, our emotions, right? Our mental development. Like we're meant to have a well-rounded experience, and that's why it can be difficult to balance like the more spiritual personal side of things with the hands-on like physical world. And so this is kind of being willing to approach whatever it is that feels most important to you, whatever you feel called to, like to set your judgment, to set your fear and rationalization about like what that means aside, and be willing to say like, what is it? What is it that I want to do? What is it that I enjoy the most? What do I feel the most drawn to? Who do I feel the most drawn to? What kinds of activities, right? So, and it's like, what would happen if I let myself go into that with curiosity? What would happen if I made more room for that? Because the idea is when you start connecting with that energy, when you start allowing it to be expressed, you allow yourself to benefit from it. And that is kind of what brings you into a greater level of awareness of like just what it is you came here to do, what your purpose is, what it is that's going to help you feel most fulfilled, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, that is expressed or shared with others. And so, yeah, you could be coming into a new level of realization about yourself and what is most important to you. So I think that's really good. So in terms of like your soul plan, right? Perhaps this whole awakening is helping you to reconnect with yourself so that you can have a greater level of depth in terms of your experiences, right? You can feel more connected to yourself, more connected to life, more connected to the people around you, to have more opportunity for that like genuine expression, something that is unique to you, right? So allowing yourself to develop in a way that's not so tangible, like something that's less like empirically measured, I guess. And acknowledging that growth and those experiences that facilitate that growth is just as important, right? And can sometimes help facilitate growth and development, even in your career or your ability to make money, or the physical reality that we enjoy. So yeah, you might be coming to a new level of understanding and acceptance of yourself, and be willing to kind of say like, hey, there are needs that have gone unmet. There are things that I am passionate about that I either have stopped doing or have never allowed myself to start. Or, there are things that I want to experience and I've been wanting to do this forever and it's not going away. So maybe I need to start doing it and see what kind of change that will bring about. So yeah, you could be coming more into your own energy this month, Cancer, which I think is really cool for your season specifically. So your first card for this month is the Sun, which I love. Okay, we'll get you a couple more cards here. It's funny because usually the second card will come out really quickly, but it's like the fact that it's taking a while, I feel like the emphasis is on this energy being the start to your month. My gosh. I keep on thinking that you're going to get your next card, but it's like 5 cards flip over all at once. So I gotta get just one. Okay, your next card for this month is the Fool. Your third card is the Five of Cups. We'll get you one more for this month. And your final card for this month is the Ten of Swords. And the bottom of the deck, we have the Seven of Swords. Okay, so we'll get your clarifiers right away, and I'll just read all the cards together. So first we'll clarify the Sun card. The Sun is clarified by the Ace of Cups. The Fool is clarified by the Seven of Cups. Wow. Huh. The Five of Cups is clarified by the Eight of Cups. Let's see. Ten of Swords here. Ten of Swords is clarified by Justice. And then we've got the Strength card at the bottom of the deck under the Seven of Swords. This is very interesting energy. So first off, I'm not surprised to see all of these cups here, obviously, because that's water energy. That is your energy. So like emotions, love, connection, intuition, subconscious, all that kind of stuff. But the sense that I get just taking a look at all of this together it could be like being aware of your emotions and the fact that you're a sensitive person and you pick up a lot of information, like emotionally or energetically or intuitively from situations, but maybe not necessarily knowing what to do with that information or how to understand and apply it, like how to find the value in it. And it could be related to some fears, some limiting beliefs, some perspectives that are just maybe less than empowering, or just overall like not helpful in terms of navigating emotions. Because at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Seven of Swords and the Strength card. So the Seven of Swords, it's kind of like a sneaky, deceptive energy. So this doesn't have to be with like you specifically. It's not saying that you're a sneaky, deceptive person. You might have those tendencies, or you might be tempted to kind of engage in that behavior once and again, or it could be the ways that you like deceive yourself, the ways that you're trying to like fool yourself, lie to yourself, self-sabotage kind of thing, or it could be people around you. It could be people who lie or manipulate or deceive you. It could be hurtful experiences from your past that make it difficult to trust other people, maybe trust yourself and your judgment of other people, or trust your ability to make decisions that honor yourself in relationship to other people. Because this is all about like any kind of sneaky, shady energy that's not necessarily above board, like that it's not going to go unseen or unnoticed. So perhaps there was some kind of that energy that was exposed to you. So perhaps, maybe you figured out that somebody was lying or cheating or manipulating, or there was something that went on where somebody was trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and either you saw it for what it was, or perhaps it was exposed to you after the fact. But this can be like that shady kind of energy coming to light, because the light of the full moon, it's really difficult to sneak around and do anything shady when you're exposed by the light of the full moon. So this is all about those things coming. And with swords, that can be about our thoughts, perceptions, beliefs, the way that we like communicate with other people. But for it to come up with the Strength card, then there could be some kind of struggle in relation to deception, in relation to trust. And the Strength card is kind of about being able to navigate the trials and tribulations of life, and to remain strong, and take care of yourself, but also gentle at the same time. So like not to let life's experiences harden you, and to be able to kind of maintain the heart of the lion regardless of what you've experienced. But it's about having the strength, the inner strength, to treat yourself first and foremost with love and compassion and kindness, even if you've made mistakes, even if you're struggling, even if you hold yourself to a high standard and you feel as though you're failing. It's about learning how to treat yourself well in the midst of struggle, because that is what allows you to further tap into your strength to overcome those things. But then also, like, the more that you're able to extend that to yourself, the easier it is for you to forgive other people. So this could be about some kind of lie, deception, lack of trust, or like disloyalty that has been exposed that you've had to work through. Maybe you've had to heal from, you've had to figure out, like, if you were sabotaging yourself perhaps, or you had certain thoughts and beliefs that were actually limiting you and they were unhealthy and damaging, and you realize it's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this to myself this whole time. It's having the strength to, forgive yourself, to love yourself anyways, and to kind of rally and work through that. So it could be like you or somebody else, but that's what's underlying this general progression for this month. So it could be a heartbreak, it could be a loss, it could be like some kind of deception that hurt you, that impacted your mindset, that impacted your perspective or your beliefs about yourself or other people, your ability to trust, that kind of thing. So that could be something that you've been working through. And perhaps that's like part and parcel what this awakening is about. Like, it could be your self-concept, or it could be, having trust issues, or, insecurities in relationships, or It'll insecurity and that kind of like trust issues that will manifest in every area of your life differently, right? So I'm not sure if that makes sense for you, but it could be stealing a lot of your joy, like that struggle, that pain, or even just coming to the awareness of the things that are like not so great, right? Not so great to experience, not so great to believe. Because this month you're being encouraged to come in just being willing to be happy, connect with happiness, connect with joy, and it's perfect because it's the summer. So it's like, if you like getting outside, if you like sunshine, it's like getting out there, right? Being in the sun, letting the sun shine on you, letting yourself be moved by happiness and joy, to reconnect with that. It's also a card of like youthful, childlike energy. So it can be about playing, right? Reconnecting with your inner child, not taking yourself or life so seriously, giving yourself an opportunity to just, to be silly, to be lighthearted, to release your burden for even just a short time, right? Because it's like, inevitably life has struggle and challenge and darkness, but we're supposed to have, a balance of light and dark. And, sometimes we expect that the times that we experience joy and happiness, it's like they're gifted to us, which sometimes they are, but sometimes we have to make a point of like almost scheduling it, or being aware of it, or making it a priority, right? Because we can get so caught up in the mundane day-to-day stuff and then so derailed by life's challenges and struggles that we don't actively make a point of connecting to joy or happiness, or even being aware of the blessings and the joy and the happiness that are available to us, even in the most simple ways on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's love, happiness, joy, gratitude, taking a moment for it, recognizing how you can incorporate that into your daily life, but also like giving yourself a break to enjoy it, right? And this comes with the Ace of Cups, which is all about a new opportunity for love. It could be a new connection in love, a new level of experience in love. This could be like your relationship to yourself, your emotions, your happiness, your health. Being willing to change your approach in terms of how you look at yourself, think about yourself, feel about yourself, what you say about yourself, how you invest in yourself, right? Like this cup of love, that's everything that makes you happy, that fills you up. And you have to maintain that and take care of it and fill it for yourself, right? You have to take care of that first and foremost. Make sure that cup is filled. If you're giving and giving and giving and that cup is getting empty, then you have to take the time to replenish yourself, because you'll run yourself ragged. And it's nobody else's responsibility to keep that cup full, to fill you with love and happiness, or to help you connect with that. So it's kind of like, it's a decision and it's an area of focus that only you have the power to influence. Because when we start looking outside of ourselves to fill this cup and to connect with love and joy and happiness, that's when we become codependent. And it can often blind us from, the personal work and the development that we're meant to do, the lessons that we're meant to be learning. So it's like this month, I think connecting with happiness and joy, the people, places, things that feel like sunshine on your face, like just that warmth, allowing yourself to experience that, maybe even reconnect with that, and allowing that to inspire more light within you, right? And hope for the opportunity to connect with and incorporate that more in your daily life, especially in terms of your relationship with yourself. And so that might be part of your awakening, is like learning how to love yourself better and more wholly, and recognizing that anything that you're looking to accomplish outside of yourself, really the focus should be on you. And the more that you invest in yourself, and the more that you figure out what it takes to fill this cup, and what path that's going to take you on, the more that you can experience and love yourself in that manner, then the more that is going to creep into every area of your life. And inevitably it may benefit you in ways that you couldn't possibly fathom, just trying to predict how things may unfold. So I think that's really promising. And also, like, whatever you experience in terms of awakening, in terms of like a new level of understanding, it's like try to approach it from that lighthearted space of joy and happiness. Like, what if this is offering me the opportunity to be happier, to connect with more happiness, to learn more about myself, and to just allow myself to enjoy, right? So your challenge for this month is showing up as the Fool and the Seven of Cups. So this is all about like, you may have a decision to make. Like maybe you have already come into a certain understanding of like something that's not working for you, something that you feel like might work better, something that you're drawn to, perhaps following your heart a little bit more. That's what the Fool is about. It's like the opportunity to consider what dreams you want to pursue and like not to be so jaded or tainted by the world or life's experiences to talk yourself out of it, right? So it's recognizing that it takes a willingness to connect with your heart and the things that feel authentic and true and like sunshine to you, and to be willing to trust that that is meant for you and that will take you in a direction that is going to be good for your growth and development, and being willing to kind of like step out onto a new path, because that's also like, I remember, right? So it's like, yeah, you could follow the path that's, clearly laid out in front of you and go through the motions, or you can step off the beaten path on a direction that feels more right to you. And that will come hand in hand with a lot of doubt, because if the path is unclear, how can you feel confident that it's the right one? But just because the path is clear and well-worn doesn't mean that it's right for you, right? So this is kind of like the fated life versus the destined life. You can follow that fated path, which feels comfortable and familiar, or maybe within your control, or you can kind of start saying yes to connecting with the things that are destined for you, the things that are connected to you on like a heart and soul level. But yeah, it is about taking a leap of faith, which can feel really scary because you don't necessarily know that if you leap off, you'll be caught. So it's like there's a certain amount of trust and faith in yourself and your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. Trust in the universe that it will provide and that you'll have inevitably the experiences, whether you consider them to be positive or negative, that you'll have the experiences you need to. But with the Seven of Cups being here, this tells me that like there's potentially a lot of opportunities, maybe a lot of paths that you could potentially take. And there could be some like confusion or lack of clarity in terms of which one is going to be best for you, which one is going to be most fulfilling, right? And so, yeah, perhaps the reason that you haven't kind of ventured off on a path that's more your own is because there are so many directions that you could go in that it's almost overwhelming. And none of those are particularly clear, and you can't necessarily predict where each one would take you to have a level of clarity that would make you feel confident in making a choice. But the beautiful thing is, and this can also be like a daydreamy kind of energy. It can be avoidant. Like you can be avoiding making a decision or picking a cup because there's so much out there that it's almost easier to just stay where you are and daydream about all the possibilities rather than choose one of those possibilities and see where it takes you. So the most important thing is, if you're looking to make a change, if you get the sense that something needs to change, or maybe there's a new direction to go in, a new path to be stepped upon, but you're feeling anxious about it, because that may very well be triggering you and coming up a lot for you. It might be something that you're working a lot through, especially emotionally, when it comes to like fears and like your subconscious belief. So with the Seven of Cups being here, the beautiful thing about cups is that it is deeply attached to your emotions, how you experience life through your emotions, how you acknowledge and express your emotions, what your emotions have to tell you, and also the connection to your subconscious, how your subconscious thoughts and beliefs and experiences and things that you hold on to impact how you view yourself and the world and how you move through the world. And this is all about like intuition as well, receiving information through like your senses, right? So the thing is that it's like all of these cups are here. And if you take a look at what that cup is, what that opportunity for potential love, happiness, joy, fulfillment, connection is, if you take a look at it and you consider it, right? Ultimately, you have to trust your ability to say like, like, out of all of these options, which one feels the lightest? Which one feels the most promising? Which one feels the most exciting? Which one feels the most aligned to me in my gut? You know how you get that gut feeling, like, no? Sometimes saying no to something is just as good as saying yes to something else, right? Like, so sometimes just being able to say, no, that doesn't quite sit well with me. Not because you're in a place of fear or over-analysis or anxiety, but just like on a very basic instinctual level, like trusting yourself to know what's right for you. And the other beautiful thing with the Seven of Cups is saying, like, there's no wrong decision here. You can have all of these options and they're all available to you, but inevitably, in order to move forward, you have to choose one, right? Because you can't spread your focus and your time and your energy along all seven and try to see where all seven of them are going to take you, right? Inevitably, you have to make a decision in order to make any kind of forward movement or progression. And it's trusting that each opportunity, each cup, is an opportunity for love and happiness and fulfillment. All you can do is make the decision that feels the best for you, right? That makes the most sense for you. But there's no wrong choice. You could choose any of those cups and you could still get to your end goal, or you could still have all the experiences. You could still learn all the lessons you need to. The most important thing is being open to whatever experience you're going to have and trusting your ability to navigate and knowing that whatever your decision you make is the right one. Right? So it's like committing to it, and whether it turns out the way that you expected, whether you have a seemingly positive or negative experience, like, you're right where you need to be and you're being given all of the tools and experiences to learn and to be kind of like upgraded, right? So it's like there's no wrong choice. And so with this being the challenge, stepping out onto a new path, but what path and how do you trust yourself and the universe? In order to kind of overcome that energy, you're being asked to kind of step into this Five of Cups and Eight of Cups energy, which it can be a very sad, very disappointed energy. So the impression that this gives me, because this is a very odd combination of cards to have in a position that is basically saying, like, this is what you're recommended to do. Usually it's like, oh, something light and empowering, something that's the opposite of whatever your challenge is. But for this, I think it may be some emotions that have either been repressed or unacknowledged, perhaps some hurtful, challenging, or disappointing experiences that you've had that have impacted you on an emotional level or wounded you on an emotional level, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Perhaps there's a lot of pain and repressed emotions that have just been kind of shifted down, and you're just carrying this weight. And so even on a subconscious level, to push those like difficult feelings down, it inevitably is going to impact your beliefs about yourself and others and the world, about your ability to trust yourself and others and to make, the right choice. It may impact your ability to believe that you can connect with happiness, that you can live a meaningful, abundant, and fulfilled life, that you can follow your heart and like the callings of your soul and be successful still. So it's like there can be a lot of worries and fears and doubts that in turn just kind of solidify more limiting beliefs that kind of keep you in a comfort zone, keep you in a place where maybe you're surviving, maybe you're okay, but you're not necessarily thriving. You're not necessarily, you're like as happy as you could be, right? Or feeling as aligned or empowered as you could be. So the Five of Cups, this is like very much my no use crying over spilled milk type of thing. So basically it's recognizing that, especially as we move through the cycles of life and we're learning new lessons, there are going to be things that look promising, that look as though they're going to be really fulfilling, really enjoyable, really abundant and successful, that either end up being so, but then we move beyond it. So it's like, oh, maybe I wanted to have a relationship with this person. And then at the beginning, the relationship was everything that I wanted it to be. And then, slowly we've overcome some challenges. We've both changed. We've grown apart. The relationship is no longer serving us and having to let that go. So it's recognizing that, You know, sometimes we're having experiences that serve us, and that when we learn the lesson that we're meant to learn, we kind of have to move on from that energy and open up to the next experience and the next lesson. So it's kind of like not fixating on the past or on past experiences, particularly the challenging ones. It's being willing to take the lesson and move on and let go, right? And just because something has not worked out, something has been hurtful, something has been disappointing, doesn't mean that you're destined to repeat that cycle indefinitely. And it doesn't mean that, like, if one relationship or one job didn't work out, it doesn't mean that the next one won't, right? So it's like sometimes we take those hurtful experiences or those challenging experiences, and then we try to project ourselves into the future, which basically, if we do that, then inevitably the decisions that we make will take us in that direction, because that's what we're focusing on. So it's kind of being willing to take all of that sadness, take all of that hurt, feel it, right? We can't repress it, we can't deny it, but feel it. And, you know, sometimes you just have to sit in discomfort, acknowledging, like, that really sucked, that really hurt, that really made me sad. But if you don't acknowledge it and just let it flow through you, then inevitably you're resisting it, and you're just going to carry it with you, and you're going to be pained by it for longer than you need to be. So it's like, it's kind of neat because there's like this little vortex here, and you can see it's going out into the ocean, right? So it's like all of this emotional energy, it's like just tipping at releasing the things that don't serve you, allowing those emotions to be expressed, allowing that to leave you instead of bottling it up. And once you let that out, then there's more space for love and joy and light to fill you. So it could be experiences or emotions that you are resisting acknowledging or experiencing, and as a result you're keeping yourself stuck in an unhappy place, or like kind of preventing yourself from connecting with happiness, because it's recognizing, like, you don't have to focus on these empty cups, on the things that didn't work or the things that disappointed you, right? Because there's a full cup right here. There's a new opportunity, right? So it's giving yourself permission to connect with new opportunities for love and happiness, especially with this Ace of Cups here, by letting go of the past and recognizing that not everything's going to work out, but like not all of the things that are hurtful and challenging are negative, right? Like sometimes those things can be really beneficial for our growth. And perfect to complement this is the Eight of Cups, which is all about, being willing to walk away, right? All 8 of these cups are broken. They can no longer hold love, happiness, abundance, right? So it's kind of like you've tried all these things, you've had all these experiences, inevitably they're not working for you anymore, and you can't make them work. So at some point you just have to accept, all of these glasses are broken. All of these opportunities that I thought were going to make me happy, or I thought were going to be the one thing, or maybe they were and then they stopped being so. It's recognizing that even if you make a decision and it leads you to this point where everything I've done up until this point has not worked, if we stay focused on that energy, then we can definitely end up in a place where we're feeling consistently low and maybe even depressed. And we can limit ourselves in terms of the happiness that we feel is available to us because we're so busy focusing on all of this, right? So it's like, even if letting go of your sadness and moving on to the next thing, making the next choice leads you to this, ultimately that's telling you everything you need to know. It's giving you a very clear idea of like what isn't working for you, what hasn't worked for you. And in order to step on a new path toward opportunity for love and abundance and connection and joy, you have to accept the things in the past that didn't work and be willing to move on, right? Because it's like there's all this darkness, but there's light over the mountains, right? So it's like you have to walk away and leave these in the past. So it's even if you're a very sensitive and sentimental person, it's being able to honor your experiences, honor the emotions that you've experienced, but to value the fact that they served a purpose, they played a valuable role, you learned valuable lessons. And so not to carry that sadness, not to carry those experiences with you, not to stay stuck in the past or be reliving the past or project the past into the future, but to honor it for what it was, take something valuable from it in terms of lessons or new ways of approaching or doing things, and allow yourself the freedom of just dropping that weight and connecting with something more inspiring, I guess, more aligned to you. And the beautiful thing is that the highest possible outcome for this month is Ten of Swords and Justice. Ten of Swords is all about connecting with new perspectives, new beliefs, right? It's like, it's like all of these challenging thoughts and beliefs that you may have, whether limiting beliefs about yourself, you know, distrust, fear, anxiety, anything that's kind of weighing you down or keeping you in a place where you're not necessarily able to authentically express yourself or connect with happiness or connect with the things that feel most aligned to you. It's like coming out of that, coming back out into the light, letting those perspectives that weren't serving you go, and recognizing that you can connect with new ideas, new ways of doing things, new beliefs, right? Because ultimately, whatever you believe to be true is true, whether it's real or not. Committing yourself to taking action based on that belief makes it real. So that's why we can have like the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because sometimes our fears that something won't work out keep us from moving forward. And so by not moving forward, we ensure that things will never work out, right? So it's kind of like those are the ways that we can fool ourselves into being limited, being stuck in old energy, resisting life lessons. And so this is about kind of like coming out of that, letting those thoughts fly away, right? And recognizing that there's a whole light horizon here. There's so many opportunities. There's so many new ways to approach things. And it's recognizing that with the perspective of all of those thoughts and beliefs, whether they're things that you picked up from your experiences, things that came as a result of things that were said or done to you, things that were ingrained in you because of your upbringing, it's recognizing that if it's not serving you, if it's not empowering you, that you can let it go. It's a difficult process, but you can let it go. And then once you let it go, you have the room to start connecting with something that makes more sense to you. Because if you're going to believe, even if what you're believing isn't true for everyone or isn't true in like a basic way, we believe things that aren't true all the time, like that we're inevitably going to fail at whatever we do. Like those are fears, right? That influence our ideas about ourselves. But if you are going to basically create your destiny based on what you believe regardless, then it's like, why not believe something that's empowering? Why not believe something that encourages you to connect with happiness or to, you know, to get to know yourself on a deeper level, right? Or to take more risks in terms of stepping out of your comfort zone and figuring out more about yourself. So it's like there's a new opportunity for new insight, new perspective, and for that to be really catered to you. So that goes hand in hand with awakening. So this could be like being able to more easily integrate these new perspectives, these new beliefs, and to understand the ways that your thoughts and in your relationship to your emotions and your past even specifically has been kind of keeping you in a place where maybe you're not feeling your best, and being able to like release that. And you may not know what's next, but it's kind of like reconnecting with hope and knowing that the power is kind of in your hands, right? Things always even out, right? So the Justice card is kind of like a karma card, right? So it's like inevitably light and dark always balance themselves out. And so it's trusting that you don't have to go out of your way to try and balance out like the darkness that you've experienced, right? Because sometimes we stay in darkness for fear of more darkness, but it keeps us there. So it's like we don't want to experience more pain or rejection or loss, and so we keep ourselves limited, and inevitably we completely avoid opportunities to experience the depth and meaning and beauty in life because we're afraid of loss. And so we just keep ourselves in this place where things are more dark. So it's recognizing that when you are connecting with what's true for you and allowing yourself to move in the direction of your soul's calling, what feels good to you, you know, working through emotions, not closing yourself off out of fear, that things will naturally kind of balance themselves out. So when you find your true north and you're walking in that direction, if you trust your ability to kind of handle your thoughts, handle your habits, handle your emotions, and to accept and work through them. That it's like life balances things out for you when you're being true to yourself. And so it's like, even if you've had a major struggle, it's like you don't necessarily need to fix a whole bunch of stuff in your external environment to be happier. It could just be like connecting more deeply with yourself and what's true for you. And it's trusting. It's trusting that, what you think about yourself, how you move through the world is inevitably comes back to you in one way or another. So when you start making changes like for yourself on a personal level, it may take time, but that will be reflected back to you in your external circumstances and your relationships and the opportunities that arise. So it's kind of like everything is connected. So if you just focus on keeping yourself in balance, doing your healing, figuring out what's true for you, what your true north is, and then allowing yourself to take steps in that direction, then that is going to help you. Okay, so we've got your affirmations here. The first one, when I've overshared, I simply say, wait, why am I talking? So perhaps part of the emotional struggle is that you feel vulnerable sharing your emotions. Maybe you have a tendency to overshare and you feel as though you've said too much or you've put people off. So it could be, and that's not necessarily true. It might just be a way that you judge yourself because being vulnerable is difficult. So it's recognizing that as you work through like acknowledging and expressing your emotions and releasing the stuff that's pent up, if you're doing that in the presence of somebody else and you start to get worried, it's like it's taking baby steps in terms of how you're going to process and share that with other people, and paying attention to like your level of comfort, your emotions, what you're experiencing, and doing things in a way that allows you to feel like open and safe in expressing that vulnerability, so that you're not tempted to shut down again, right? And then to travel further on my path of personal growth, I call on my spiritual running buddies for help. So it's like connecting with other people who are going through similar things or who have similar kinds of goals, who might be able to understand and support you or just be willing to hold space for you as you process whatever's going on, especially if you've got a lot of stuff from your past that is inspiring fear or sadness. I release my need to be perfect and I center into my commitment to serve the world more love. Yeah, so this is all about, the way that you love and respect yourself is the first step into being able to sharing that with other people. So it's like the more that you focus on your relationship with yourself and self-love, the more you're going to be able to give others. And that's why, like, a lot of times this need to be perfect has to do with how we're viewed or perceived by society or by the people around us. It doesn't necessarily have to do with what is most important or beneficial to us. So it's like when you focus on yourself and what's good for you and commit to yourself and being more loving and kind to yourself, you're able to share more of that with the world. And inevitably, that's what's important, not perfection. And you guys got like 2 more affirmations than everybody else, but when in doubt, I choose to see peace. So it's recognizing, like, as you're trying to connect more with yourself and maybe find your own way, follow your own path, inevitably there's going to be fear and doubt that arises, but that is kind of like part and parcel of finding, your true north, finding your own unique way through life. And it's recognizing that doubt is kind of like a natural, healthy thing, but it doesn't have to turn into fear, worry, anxiety, overthinking, limiting beliefs. So it's just recognizing that, like, at the end of the day, you have the choice to connect with a peaceful and loving approach to whatever it is inspiring doubt. And that will help you to kind of keep the faith and hope, and even just to prevent yourself from spiraling into a place of, low energy, right? Okay, and your final oracle is time for a nap. So actually that goes really nicely with the sun energy. It's like, just let yourself do something enjoyable. Okay, so I'm just going to read this directly from the guidebook and we'll see if that might give you some additional insight. The essential meanings: rest, rejuvenation, and renewal. temporary non-action, so not moving forward, allowing dreams to arise. The Oracle's message: this is a time to step away and rest. Let the cares of your world go. Go into a state of non-action and allow yourself to be free of the shackles of your goals, your lists, your desires. Nothing is as important as rest, detachment, and neutrality. The overly busy mind can block you from inner wisdom if you don't step back, take a seat, and rest. Be willing to let dreams surface and ideas flow through you, absent any force or conscious direction, as you observe without engagement now. So it's basically like being busy, being focused on being productive can actually prevent us from receiving those subtle nudges that our intuition is trying to give us, or, that inner wisdom that we already have that will help us connect with, moments for awakening, new insight, clarity. And that it's important to be able to quiet yourself to a point where you're able to receive that information, but that also, like, even once you've received it, it's important to kind of stay still and to figure out how to integrate that, right? Because trying to control it or channel it into activity or movement immediately can just kind of block you from connecting to yourself. And especially because the Fool's Path is a heart-based one, you have to have moments of quiet and rest to be able to connect with that energy, to feel your way through and figure out what your next step is, right? So you don't figure out your next step by constantly charging forward. You have to be able to connect with yourself to receive that information. There's also a relationship message. When it comes to matters of the heart, don't make any plans right now. If you're not partnered, it's good to take this time to get to know yourself. If you're involved with someone, relax and just be with your partner. This is going to be an uneventful moment in time. Don't force anything now. Allow things to flow naturally, and a beautiful renewal will take place all by itself. That's what this is all about. Allow things to flow naturally, and a beautiful... Oh, sorry, I just read that. Patience is the key to your heart's desire right now. Withdraw from action in your relationship and give it a rest so that your love and connection can become rejuvenated. Prosperity. This is a great time to take a break from your busy schedule and allow yourself the opportunity to step back. Your plans are meant to be put on ice. Your goals can wait. Dream, imagine, and let go of attachment to any outcome. Meditate and take a holiday if you can. Things will speed up soon enough. After a break, you may want to make some changes. Epiphanies have an amazing way of arising when you take your focus off your to-do list and allow yourself to rest. So there's a lot of insight that's available to you. You just have to put yourself in a position to connect with it. And then protection message. You are a human being, not a human doing. Is it possible you're suffering from workaholism? Could you be the one who thinks it's your job to save everyone, to be there for everyone, and to go, go, go until you can barely see straight? You've gone as far as you can. You've worked hard and nourished people and projects, but now you are an empty well and have no reserves for others or for yourself. Don't let your ego keep you going full speed when your body and spirit need rest. Exhaustion is calling you to stop what you're doing altogether and take a break. If you don't, the appearance of this card could portend a possible illness that stems from being totally overwhelmed. You will feel like a new person if you take that break. Do it now. So yeah, that's kind of what this is about. Take this break, connect with happiness and joy. Love yourself, fill your cup back up, and figure out how you can do that for yourself on the regular so that you can, sustain a level of happiness and fulfillment that allows you to get more out of life, but then also allows you to keep your cup full enough on the regular that you can still give to and support others as well. So there's a lot there, Cancer. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I'm sorry it was so long. But yeah, it looks like June is going to be a big month for you to just sit back, relax, see what life is trying to show you, be open to new perspectives, and give yourself some gentle, easy space just to first and foremost enjoy, but also to be in a position to receive maybe some more clarity that's going to make it easier for you to move forward. But this month doesn't seem to be a month of action or actually moving forward. It's more kind of dealing with your inner landscape and just kind of taking time to rest and rejuvenate, because that is what's going to bring you the information that you need to have a more confident idea of what you're going to move toward or how you should kind of make your next steps. So I think that's really promising. I'm super excited for you. If you enjoyed this reading, the best and easiest way to support me is to like this video on YouTube, leave me a comment. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that would benefit from or enjoy my readings, you can feel free to share my content with them. Make sure you hop over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, take a look at my other videos, and make sure you're not only subscribed, but signed up for notifications for my channel, and that will keep you up to date on new videos as they're posted. So Cancer, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me. I am super excited to see how this month goes and to see even what next month has in store. I'm looking forward to reading for you again. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.